Welcome to ScoutCenter, everyone. I'm Charles Meade, your host. Is scouting something fun just for your kids, or can it make a big difference for your whole family? Our guest today has some thoughts about that, and so we thought we would bring Heather Schueppert, who is a scouting parent and leader, on the program for a visit. Heather, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and I appreciate you having me.
So let's start by you telling us just how long your family has been involved in the scouting program, why you initially decided to join, and what keeps your family coming back each year.
Yeah, great question. So both my husband and I have been heavily involved in scouting since we were youngsters, myself in Girl Scouts and he naturally in Cub Scouts and then Boy Scouts. And he comes from a long line of Eagles on his extended family. But as a family, we were first introduced almost 11 years ago when our oldest was in first grade, stopped by the school. I was about to say career fair. Now he's in 11th grade and he's in those fairs now. But at that time, it was activities that you could do in an elementary school. And, we introduced him to Cub Scouts. And every year we've always given both of our boys, who is also our youngest is also in scouting, the chance to be it. And every year they want to keep coming back. So for us, why we continue to do it first is just adult participants and then leaders. Quite honestly, for us, it really brings core values and life skills that we believe a person or specifically our family would like to live by, and just be great citizens of the community. So whether that was in elementary school with the Cub Packs and now troop level, that's why we just keep coming back and back. And also, we're not originally from Austin. Our family is kind of all over the world. So scouting for us has really become what we call our family, half friends, half family, and something that we can do together. Unlike maybe sports where you drop them off, or sometimes even volunteering organizations, it's tougher to do as a family. We have found this has been the singular activity in our lives that we can truly and honestly do as a family.
So, if I remember right, one of your sons is an Eagle, and then the
Mhm.
other is working his way there.
Yeah, very close. He'll be achieving that, fingers crossed, next year.
Okay. So obviously some similarities there in terms of them
Mhm.
both enjoying the program, moving up in the rank advancement. But despite those similarities,
Right.
like any parent, I'm sure you've noticed your sons are probably pretty different from one another.
Mhm.
Um, how have you seen each of them grow and change in their own way? And how much do you
Yeah.
think scouting has factored into that growth?
Greatly, heavily. Yes, they are very different. One is was band, and the other one is orchestra. One is technical entertainment and the tech program. Other one's heavily interested in robotics. But scouting is something that's drawn both of them in. So that's kind of like the level setter, so to speak. But a scout's journey is also very unique and very different. So even though they were a part of the same pack, they're a part of the same troop. Both my husband and I have been leaders in both of those levels. They've all gone different paths. Like, yes, they've done NYLT. They both are senior patrol leader. Yes, either they're Eagle or about to be Eagle. But that's pretty much where the similarities stop. My younger son, heavily involved in the Order of the Arrow, OA, doing ceremonies and working through ordeals. He's actually starting to dip his toe into international scouting, which is just a fantastic lifelong organization that someone can be a part of. And even after he's achieved his Eagle, he's actually even said, "Hey, I'm maybe interested in joining a venturing crew," which is cool. Well, my other one, took a lot of leadership roles as already Eagle. And I will say right now, I hate that phrase "eagling out," despite, when someone gets it along their way. He achieved it at 14. A lot of that was because of the pandemic. So nothing else to do. So he really drilled in down on the scouting adventures. He is still very active in the troop and he does it from a leadership role. He has been our junior assistant scoutmaster, if I'm getting that title correct, for the past couple of years and really works heavily with the young leaders and kind of bringing them up through that EDGE method, as well as our new recruits that come in every spring. But scouting for them, I mean, they're learning a lot at school, they're learning a lot in their other activities, but I think if there's three things that I think that's the scouting has really brought them is resilience, adaptability, and overall grit. I've been able to see them from the itty bitty years all the way to these growing young men of character, really face a lot of challenges, whether outdoor and camping and the cold or the rain or your stove is not working to having to lead others of the same age, which has its own difficulties. Really seeing them grow. And because we are an adult leadership role, we've seen others in our troop grow as well, which is honestly equally rewarding.
Yeah, you don't know how much growth is possible until you wake up in the morning and it's raining and you discover that nobody covered firewood last night. So,
Yes, or you find yourself realizing you should have pitched your tent on high ground, and you're kind of floating inside of your tent. But you know what?
oh,
Everybody lives, and you laugh about it later. And every year we ask our scouts, not appropriately we as the adults, but the scout leaders ask, like, what were your favorite, most memorable campouts? And it's the one where the craziest things have happened, right? Because you realize not only have you survived, you actually thrived from it. So it's pretty cool.
no question. And I would be remiss if I didn't pick up on your one point there about considering perhaps venturing. I mean, there is a big world of scouting out there. Once you reach Eagle,
Yeah.
love to see young men, young women stay involved in their Scouts BSA troops, serve in those senior leadership positions like you described with your Eagle son. But there's venturing, there's sea scouting, there's exploring, there is a lot of other scouting that you can do. So public service announcement done. You also mentioned serving in leadership positions yourself, your husband.
Yeah.
In particular, I know you have served as committee chair for Scouts BSA Troop, and that puts you in a position where you're leading the parent committee, you're able
Yeah.
to supervise how the troop operates, and you get a unique window into how other families, different types of families, different types of kids who are benefiting and
Mhm.
interacting with the program. Do you have any kind of stories or maybe instances that has stood out to you over time about how this program really benefits those different kinds of families in different ways?
Yeah, I think this is the one, and I don't even like to call it an activity. I mean, scouting is really a lifestyle, if I can kind of go that far. So for all the different families, it's, you know what, there's no A team, right? And no one's sitting on the bench, or there's no tryouts, or there's no auditions. It's probably the most inclusive type of, again, I'll just call it an activity that everybody can join, right? So I've loved to see so many families from different backgrounds. We know whether it's, a single mom or divorced families or more of what consider a traditional family set, but there's so many kids that one parent is dropping off kids and another one's dropping it off in another, and it's just that crazy life that we all live as parents and families. But this is just one place where scouts can be scouts, they can be themselves. And the way I always look at it is like there's only one true deadline when it relates to scouting, and that's turning 18. Right. So as I mentioned before, one of my sons turned Eagle at 14, but he's still heavily involved. The next one will get it when he's 15. Just because you receive a certain rank doesn't mean you have to stop that journey. So I think for different families, this is a place where even parents kind of find their own friends. I know we have. We call it our village. We call it our community. We've had them over for holidays. We have them over for social events. But it's a great way for really everybody to be themselves and be included. And again, versus that exclusive type of a feeling where, at a certain point, maybe your son or daughter is not the skill level to be on the basketball team or didn't make cheer or so on and so forth. This is something that no matter what your path is and what you're interested in, you get exposed to such a wide variety of different things. I mean, one quick example of, families different coming in, there was one scout that was just really wanted to be into architecture. Love design, to love to draw, whatever. And he did the architecture merit badge. And he's like, this is not something I really want to do for the rest of my life. So, in many ways, merit badges and different things you do in your ranks are teaching you life skills and potentially, a path forward in your career or just a great hobby you want to do. But it's also exploring things that, you don't want to do, but maybe you thought you did earlier. So, just that exposure, I think parents have just really enjoyed giving their son or their daughter those opportunities to really explore who they are as people.
So on that topic of merit
Yeah.
badges, I know
Yeah.
you have volunteered as a merit badge counselor, and as you touched on, earning a merit badge gives a scout a chance to discover a topic, maybe an interest, or something that they find out is really not the interest that they thought it might be. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's what the scouts get out of it. But
Yep.
you, as the adult, working
Mhm.
with scout or scouts on that merit badge, what's that been experience like for you? And what have you gotten out of it that might convince, say, another adult to consider being a merit badge counselor?
Yeah, great question. Of all the different roles I've had in the scouting community, whether it's recruiting or membership or committee chair or whatever, I would have to say merit badge counseling is my favorite role because it's really a great way to interact with the scouts and share some of the knowledge and interests and skills that you have with them, right? So it also helps me pursue kind of certain passions and purposes that I have in life, whether it be, cooking or just physical fitness or whatever that may be. I like giving the opportunity to sharing that with others. It also has brought to me a lot of perspective, right? A lot of times those requirements seem very black and white, but I have just been amazed by the thought and the creativity that scouts have brought to fulfill those requirements. So that's very, very rewarding. And as I said before, I think I guess one thing I want to say is, there's a misunderstanding that in order to be a merit badge counselor, it takes a lot of training. It doesn't. I mean, there is some things that you have to do online, but over a cup of coffee on a Saturday morning or a quick lunch break or whatever, you will get the tools and the skills you'll need as a merit badge counselor to make sure all counselors are, level set it, right, about what we should be seeking, what these scouts should be accomplishing. But there's the misunderstanding that you also have to be this expert or the specialist in chemistry or citizenship in the community or first aid, or you have to be a doctor in order to teach the first aid, merit badge. Not necessarily. If you have just a general knowledge, a general interest, it all comes together. So I've always highly encouraged all of our adult parents that's probably the number one way, aside from going on campouts, which are absolutely fun for adults as well, to really get involved from a merit badge counseling standpoint. Because if anything, it's actually expanded my interest on things. So I went to go learn about something. I became a merit badge counselor in it. So it's also been selfishly self-rewarding as well. But to see these, young boys that maybe started off in first grade or maybe in fifth and sixth grade and expand their knowledge along the way, I can't ask for anything more. It's pretty cool.
Let me veer off the beaten path here for just a second and come at you with a question that's a bit out of left field, but I think you're particularly uh, uniquely positioned to be able to speak to this. Uh,
Sure.
so, as many people know, or if you don't, the National Boy Scouts of America organization decided that it is going to rebrand itself now, moving from Boy Scouts of America to Scouting America, and that's what
Mhm.
the organization will be known as going forward. And the reasoning behind that was to make sure that every family was as clearly aware as possible that our program is available to all youth, no matter what, boy or girl. Now, for some people, they have a fear that removing boy from the name of the organization means that, well, maybe it's not the program, the activity is not delivering the type of experiences for my sons that I would
Hmm.
want, and maybe that it did before. Um, you obviously are in the thick of this, both as a volunteer,
Yeah.
but also just as, if not more importantly, as a mom of two boys. And you have witnessed, you spoke a little bit earlier about how much your sons have progressed and grown and what they've gotten out of this program. So when you evaluate that change, knowing that none of the values are changing, none of the program is changing, it's a
Right.
name that helps put a sign out that says everybody is welcome.
Hmm.
Are there any, what would you say to a fellow parent who maybe has boys, but maybe is a little bit unnerved by that change?
Oh, great question. I would say that the program has not, evolved in a way where it's changed that it's going away from the values in which it was built on, or the life skills, or the executive functioning skills, or all of it that makes the scouting program. I don't see that has been evolved or changed. I think of it just as expanded to allow more people, more individuals to be a part of it, whether, boy, girl, or you identify as, either one or whatever that is. So it's really an expansion to give more people an opportunity to go on this journey, which I think I said earlier is a very individual path in which you are doing in a very safe and productive environment of others. So I don't think the inclusion of girls is limiting things in any way. I just think it's providing an opportunity for more to be a part of this great program. I mean, what was really awesome for me to see is earlier this summer, I did the 12-day Philmont trek with my son and a few others. And I was just, I won't say blown away. I was just proud to see how many, growing young women and other, adult female leaders were on those trail and doing hiking Baldy and Tooth of Time and carrying those 40 pounds on the back. Um, that doesn't need to be limited by maybe which gender you are, which one you identify with. It's more of these amazing experiences that sometimes are almost once in a lifetime. So I'm just happy that everybody can have that chance to have that opportunity.
And just because everybody is getting that opportunity doesn't mean that boys are suffering any lack of opportunity as a result. So,
No, no. I think the way that Scouting America, even before it was been rebranded Scout America, was treating it is, I'm sure there was maybe fears or concerns about liability, right? Like, boys and girls being maybe in the same troop or camping together, and what does that mean? But I think they've put up enough guidelines and guardrails and parameters to really make it a safe and good environment for all. So again, I don't think it was taking away from one in order to open up an opportunity for others. I really see it as an expansion of this community, of this globe, of this world, to give more, just individuals the opportunities, whether, a child or a parent to get involved. So I'm happy to see the progress in it. And it's had its, obstacles and challenges, but hey, what organization and programs don't. But I think everything's been handled very positively, and very happy to be a part of this organization.
well, thank you. I appreciate all that perspective.
Yeah,
So we're kind of getting to the end of our conversation. So just a couple more.
sure.
I think no matter what youth activity, and as a parent, I went through it, and I know you're still in the thick of going through it. You're always going to have the subject of cost come up, no matter
Mm,
what it is. And
yeah,
to talk a little bit about, not asking that you're speaking on behalf of all parents or anything, but
right.
what has your particular experience been related to how much does scouting cost? What are those other economic pieces that you got to be aware of? And what would you say to a family who maybe is thinking about becoming involved in scouting, but is just maybe that cost piece is there really weighing heavily on their mind?
Yeah, and as you said, I could just speak from my, experience here with our troop and our community. So, um, comparatively speaking, scouting, and this is inclusive of the uniform and not just dues, right? Because sometimes people just look at it, no, but I mean, you're getting the uniform and you're, sometimes paying ancillary camping costs or whatever. So collectively over, let's just say the annual year of costs, whatever for us in our community, scouting is the least expensive activity that someone is involved in. So I'm been always very impressed on how our troop, but even talking to other troops and even packs as well, are able to see how much that they're able to, how hard those dues dollars go, like moving forward. So we are fortunate, we are blessed to be, financially stable and where we are with our families, a part of our troop and the districts. But have always been very well aware that, even if it is comparatively speaking the least expensive, it doesn't mean that it still could not have a potential hardship on families. So we've always encouraged families to speak to the district or the council level to see if there's any level of scholarship, involved to make that happen. I know there has actually been a few cases with our troop that there has been a question of that, and it was a real concern. So we are able to do a little internal fundraising in our own troop to make sure everybody can participate. We've also encouraged not only those in our troop, but other troops as well as boys are growing older and growing out of their uniforms and, or, they have a leftover handbook or whatever. How can we give those to families, free of charge so they don't have to bear the cost of those additional things? Not anywhere in our community, but I did recently hear about someone, and the Scout took initiative and they did a GoFundMe. And they just reached out to different family members and friends in the community and saying, this is why I want to be a part of scouting and I'd love for you to be a part of my journey. So was able to raise enough funds in order for them to be a part of it. So I guess what I have to say is there's always ways. Please be open about your need with it. Again, this is a very safe space for us to talk about these different things, but we'd rather have someone come and say, this may not be financially able for us to do. Scouting will help you find a way. So please investigate that and ask others.
Absolutely. So, by way of wrapping up,
Yeah.
some families, it has been my experience, may worry that as their sons and daughters are getting older, that they're not going to have time for scouting. I know you're living this right now. You mentioned all the things that your sons are involved in and continuing
Yeah.
to discover new things that they are interested in. Stereotypically, that is, well, my son or daughter now wants to play a varsity sport in high school, or they need to prep for the SAT, or anything and everything.
Yeah.
What would you tell those families to convince them that actually, in most instances, scouting is not so much an obstacle, but it really can help young people succeed when they have a lot to do and maybe not as much time in which to do it?
Yeah, time is that greatest gift and asset that we all have, and even our children and then our teenagers are faced with having to make some difficult decisions. What I like to say, and I know a lot of our adult leaders like to say the same thing, is scouting is more than just an activity, and this is not something that you do just to, pass the time or build a college resume, right? So it goes on your transcript, or you can write a college essay about it. I really view scouting as an investment in your child's future. The life skills, how it builds confidence, the lasting relationships, and overall shaping you into someone who is a very active, part of our community, I think is just priceless. Yes, there's other activities and commitments that people need to balance, but the thing is that scouting is flexible, right? Because it is your own journey, right? It's not like, well, I got to get these many merit badges, or I have to have this rank by this age, and so on and so forth. We have so many scouts in our troop that kind of almost take a season off. They're very dedicated to whether it's football or soccer or, even non-sport related activities that say, I just gotta not step up into a leadership role for the next couple of months, or I need to kind of slow down, the journey a little bit. But it's something they always come back to. So it's not like you're going to ever be left behind. So just remember that flexibility. So with a little time and a little dedication, I think a scout really learns lessons of a lifetime, and really creates memories that they're going to cherish forever. And just by way of an example, my husband was a part of Troop 21, so shout out to Troop 21 in the Chicagoland area. His patrol and his scoutmaster came to our wedding, 22 years ago, right? And just recently he flew back for a Troop 21 reunion. Not all of them could fit into their uniforms as they did way back then. But again, I mean, whether they're keeping in touch through social media or text or a Christmas card, these really are lasting friendships and relationships. And I know for a fact that any of these guys would be there at my husband's side if they needed him. So again, it's more than an activity. It's an investment in future. It's flexible. If you can make it happen, highly encourage it.
So hopefully, if you've been watching or listening this and you are a family that has thought about joining scouting, being involved, but you haven't taken the step yet, we've hopefully given you enough perspective from Heather's experiences to make you go ahead and consider doing that. And if so, we'd encourage you to visit us online at our website, www.bsacac.org/join, or you can visit a national website that is the letters BE, and then Scout, BAScout.org. In either case, you're going to find the opportunity to be able to locate a scouting unit near you and provide your information so that those unit leaders can connect with you, get you signed up, and get you going. And I hope that you've taken from Heather's comments just how valuable the scouting program can be, even if your son or daughter doesn't wind up becoming an Eagle Scout. That is not the point. The point is to make those friendships, have those relationships with caring adults, and to truthfully give a roadmap and kind of programming that helps a young person become more independent, successful, resilient, though much the older that they grow. Heather Schueppert, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts. We really appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks. I really appreciated the opportunity. Have a good day.